You may think you never use Linux. There's a pretty good chance you use it today. Android phone, web server, routers, smart TV, cloud server, and supercomputers. Linux is everywhere, you just usually don't see it. Hi, my name is Patrick Reagan. Welcome to the Operating Systems Linux, where we cover how to install, manage, and use the Linux operating system. In Part 1, Introduction to Linux, we define what Linux is and how it relates to Open Source and GNU. We then cover the various Linux distributions or distros that are available. Lastly, it covers the features and interfaces available in Linux. For those who are going to take the A+ exam, there are practice questions toward the end of the video. If you have not already, subscribe to the Pat Has Your Back channel. Linux is a family of open source, Unix-like operating system based on the Linux kernel. Linux technically refers to the kernel. It is software that directly manages the system's hardware and resources like CPU, memory, and storage. It can be found on a wide range of devices and systems, including desktop computers, servers, smartphones including Androids, supercomputers, home appliances, and network appliances. The main developer for the Linux kernel is Linus Torvalds. To create a full and functional system, the Linux kernel is combined with a collection of software packages and utilities, which are together called Linux distributions. Different from Windows, there are many distributions of Linux where a company or organization has taken Linux and customized it and branded it as its own. Some of these versions are distributed for free, while some distributions are paid distributions that include additional support at a very moderate price, usually via subscription. As of mid-2026, Linux has approximately 4% of the operating system, which doesn't seem like a lot. However, it also has 68.4% of the smartphones and mobile devices based on Android, which is the Linux-based operating system. Google's Chrome OS, which is also built directly on top of the Linux kernel, adds another 1.4 to 1.5%. 61.5% of websites are Linux, and 58% of embedded systems are Linux. Also, all of the world's fastest computers run on Linux OS. As mentioned before, technically Linux refers to the Linux kernel. The Linux kernel is the core of the Linux operating system. Applications don't normally talk directly to the CPU, RAM, hard drive, or network card. They ask the kernel to do it for them. If you open Firefox, Firefox needs memory, CPU time, files from storage, and network access. Firefox doesn't directly control all the hardware. It makes requests to the Linux kernel, and the kernel manages these resources. The kernel's major jobs include CPU management, who gets to use the CPU and for how long, memory management, who gets which part of RAM, device management, of how do we communicate with this keyboard, drive, printer, or network card, file system management, where are files stored and who can access them, networking, how does information get sent and received over the network, and security and permissions, which is the user or program actually allowed to do that. As mentioned before, Linux by itself is just the kernel, which cannot run applications on its own. What people call a Linux operating system is really the Linux kernel, combined with the GNU utilities, shell applications, desktop environments, package managers, and other software to create a computer package known as a Linux distribution. Today, there are over 600 Linux distributions or distros available. One kernel, but many different flavors, lots of options, lots of choices. Ubuntu is the world's most popular Linux-based desktop operating system with over an estimated 40 million users worldwide. Many distributions are built on Debian. Red Hat has 33.9% of the share of the global server operating system market. Other popular Linux distros are SUSE or OpenSUSE, CentOS, and Fedora. Fedora is the upstream source for Red Hat Enterprise Linux and CentOS. This slide shows links to some of the more popular distros. Similar to Windows, Linux can be used as a workstation and/or server, and many distributions will have server versions and desktop versions. The workstations or desktops are typically used by end users and have a graphical desktop environment. They're excellent for web browsing, office work, email, and coding. Linux Server typically provides services to other computers. Different from the Linux workstation or desktop, they're usually managed from the command line. They can host websites, files, databases, DNS, DHCP, and applications. Linux is a multi-user and multitasking operating system. Similar to Windows, Linux can provide services and use services. Similar to Windows, Linux provides multitasking, which is allowed to handle many jobs at once. Linux is very portable, which means that it can be used on a wide range of hardware architecture. A portable application is a software product designed to be easily moved from one computing environment to another. Open source software is software with a source code that anyone can inspect, modify, and enhance. The copyright holder grants users the right to use, study, change, and distribute the software and its source code to anyone and for any purpose. However, some open source licenses use the copyleft licenses that stipulate that anyone who releases a modified open source program must also release the source code for the program alongside it. Open source software provides transparency, flexibility, agility, and community collaboration while avoiding vendor lockout. Compare this to proprietary software that is computer programs owned exclusively by a company or person. The owner keeps the core programming code secret. Users buy or download a license to use it, but they cannot legally change, copy, or share the program. Source code is seen by employees only. GNU, General Public License, or GPL, is a software license that is free and publicly available for use, modification, repackaging, and rich distribution. GNU stands for GNU, not Unix. GNU offers a collection of free software that can be used as an operating system or part of an operating system. Linux is licensed under the GNU General Public License. GNU is a series of widely used free software license or copyleft that guarantees end users the four freedoms to run, study, share, and modify the software, and any changes and improvements made to the software are distributed under the same license. The GPL ensures that Linux and any derivative works remain free and open source. The terminal is a device or program that provides a user interface which allows users to type commands, passes the commands to a shell, and receives output from the operating system. The terminal can use one of several shells. Think of it this way. You want to do something. Therefore, you open a terminal on where you type, and the shell will interpret your command on what you want to do. Different from Windows, when typing in commands in Linux, commands, files, and folders are case sensitive. Uppercase and lowercase letters are treated as separate characters. File.txt, file.txt, and file.txt are three different files on Linux and will be all located in the same folder. While lowercase ls will run the list directory contents command, capital LS will most likely fail with the command not found error message since it's looking for an executable file called capital LS. The shell is a command line interpreter program that provides an interface between the user and the operating system. It allows the user to give commands to the operating system and receive responses from it. The most popular shell in Linux and the default logon shell in Linux systems and Mac OS is the Born Again shell or Bash. Some other popular shells include the C shell, the Z shell, and the Korn shell. Shells are the most important part of Linux and Unix systems, and they're used by system administrators, programmers, and power users alike. While Bash is a great balance of strong scripting support, backward compatibility with old sh scripts, and reliable command history and basic tab completion, while Bash is great balance of strong scripting support, backward compatibility with old sh scripts, and reliable command history and basic tab completion, others such as Z shell or Fish gives you real-time syntax highlighting, automatic suggestions based on your history, and smarter tab completion. When choosing a shell, look at the tasks you'll be completing and compatibility needed for those tasks. It's not difficult to switch shells, and you can easily switch back if necessary. Quick question. Which one is the command line interpreter that understands and executes your commands? Answer: the shell. The terminal is where you type. The shell interprets what you type and tells Linux what to do. Similar to Windows, Linux has layers of software to provide a usable system. At the top of the layer, you have the desktop environment that you interact with. It provides your windows, menus, and desktop. Examples include GNOME, KDE, and Mate. The display system helps put Windows on a screen and access the traffic control for the windows. Example includes X11 or Wayland. The desktop environment is what you use, but the display system helps draw the graphical user interface or GUI. Of course, the muscle is Linux or Linux kernel, which is the brain and muscle of the system. X11 or Simple X is the display server window system for bitmap displays. It provides the graphical user interface or GUI for drawing and moving windows on the display device and interacts with the mouse and keyboard. Alternatives to X11 is Wayland. Nowadays, almost every major Linux distribution comes with GNOME as the default GUI. GNOME is a widely used desktop environment with an easy-to-use GUI. The Linux open source community also created GNOME extensions, which overcome some of the infamous shortcomings of GNOME and extends the desktop functionality to suit a variety of needs. Other popular GUIs for Linux include KDE, which offers cross-device operations and great visuals for modern machines, and Mate is a split-off from GNOME that did not like the direction that GNOME 3 was headed. Settings at Ubuntu shows X11 and GNOME is running on this machine. If you're new to Linux, the interface may seem foreign to you, but you'll find a lot of similarities between the Linux GUI interface and Windows or Apple OS. One of the biggest things besides Linux administrators love to execute Linux commands at the terminal is the graphical interface. You'll still find many of the same ideas, but with different names. Instead of File Explorer, we'll use GNOME Files. Instead of Recycle Bin, you'll call it Trash. Instead of the Start menu, you click the Show Applications or Launcher. The launcher and dock allows you to pin apps, switch windows, and check date and time. Here, we have Ubuntu Linux running multiple windows, including Firefox Browser, LibreOffice Writer, and Files. LibreOffice is an open source Office package similar to Microsoft Office. GNOME's Files, formerly known as Nautilus, is equivalent to File Explorer. Launcher, sometimes referred to as Dash, is a shortcut bar on the left side of the screen. It's an application launcher which may include Firefox Browser, Thunderbird Mail, GNOME File, LibreOffice Writer, Ubuntu Software Center or the Software Store, Report a Problem, Help, and Trash, which is equivalent to the Windows Recycle Bin. The Show Application button at the bottom of the launcher allows you to see all applications. At the top of the screen, you can perform file and application searches. The two rectangle boxes toward the top of the screen are Ubuntu Workspaces, which are virtual desktops which allow you to run different programs in separate compartments that you can make the running applications more organized and easier to navigate. You can think of the virtual desktop that gives you multiple desks to work on with different applications and open documents. Activities Overview allows you to access your windows and applications. The clock at the top of the bar allows you to see current date, a monthly calendar, a list of upcoming appointments, and new notifications. System Menu button on the top right corner opens the System menu, which allows you to manage your system settings in your computer. It includes Screenshot Tool, Settings, Lock Computer, Shutdown button, Network Settings, Power button, Enable or Disable Dark Mode, and it may also show volume control. Debian Linux is similar to Ubuntu Linux. By clicking the Activities button, you can access the launcher. And here is Red Hat Linux. The Activities button shows the launcher. For determining the Linux distribution installed on a system, use the hostnamectl command. Question: in Debian, Ubuntu and Red Hat operating system, what do you call the kernel? Answer, Linux. Question, what license is used by Linux? Answer, GPL. Question, what is the command line interpreter in Linux? Answer, shell. Question, what is the X11? Answer, a windowing system. Question, what do you typically use in Linux to start an application? Answer, launcher or dash. Question, which operating system allows users to have access to the source code? Answer, Linux. For more information, visit these sites. In summary, Linux is a family of open source, Unix-like operating system based on the Linux kernel that directly manages the system's hardware and resources like CPU, memory, and storage. Open source software is software with source code that anyone can inspect, modify, and enhance. GNU General Public License, or GPL, is software and license that is free and publicly available for use, modification, repackaging, and redistribution. Today, there are over 600 Linux distributions or distros available. Linux is a multi-user and multitasking operating system. Linux is very portable, which means that it can be used on a wide range of hardware architectures. The shell is a command line interpreter program that provides an interface between the user and the operating system. X11, or simple X, is the windowing system for bitmap displays. GNOME is a widely used desktop environment with an easy-to-use GUI. Launcher, sometimes referred to as dash, is a shortcut bar on the left side of the screen. Thank you for watching this video. The next video will be Linux Part 2, installing and updating Linux, which also covers how to install Ubuntu Linux. If you like this video, click the like button, and if you have not already, subscribe to the Pat Hatcher back channel. Thank you.